pump up the volume, hit record, and get ready to listen to the shittest podcast ever. Two hosts of the Undertone Paranormal Podcast discover 10 ominous random MP3 recordings and listen to them live on air. What could possibly go wrong? If you said summoning something evil, you'd be right. Get ready for flickering lights, jump scare sounds, and a lot of lingering, unsettling anticipation shots in Undertone. Hello there, you loose units, and welcome back to another episode of Spicy Boy Reviews. I'm, of course, your host, Andrew Iles. That's right, Undertone, written and directed by Ian Twarson, known for directing a couple of short films, and this being his feature film debut. We meet Evie. A young woman who's staying at her terminally ill mother's house while she delivers her palliative care. During the evenings, or the days, it's really hard to tell, she co-hosts a podcast with another individual by the name of Justin, who lives all the way in London, so we never see his face and he records the podcast remotely. However, calling this show titled The Undertone a podcast is a bit of a stretch, as nothing is planned as they record and go live just winging it. And the majority of the time, they're just listening to creepy recordings and bitch about if it's real or not, which totally must be super captivating to their listeners. And wouldn't you know it, Justin is sent a very ominous email with 10 MP3 recordings attached and is warned to listen at their own risk. Which, of course, Evie and Justin are totally gonna do live on air without any homework, listening to the files first, planning or pre-production, which of course can only go well. Let me give you a hypothetical scenario as a metaphor if this is a good idea or not. Imagine your prankiest friend who has the sickest sense of humour has sent you a couple of unspecified recordings or TikToks. Then you decide to play those clips at full volume in public without checking the recordings first. Raw dogging it with a devil-may-care attitude and play it at full volume in public as families walk on by. Well, the equivalent to this, Evie and Justin do exactly that. They raw dog it and listen to it live on air. This is where the recordings are of a couple recording themselves late at night when creepy shit starts to happen. And wouldn't you know it? As soon as Evie starts listening to the recordings, creepy shit starts to happen around her dying mother's religious paraphernalia-filled house. Lamps begin to flicker, the sink starts turning itself on at random times, a creepy Mother Mary statuette starts popping up in random places, and Evie can start to hear whispering voices in her comatose mother's room. It's all the stuff that would give Zach Bagans a boner. However, instead of Evie saying, "Fuck this shit, I'm out," she goes straight back to her laptop and starts listening to old kids' nursery rhymes backwards for reasons. And along the way, we discover there may be another reason why this creepy shit is specifically happening to Evie. The film is rather repetitive as it goes on, as Evie and Justin do more digging live on air instead of doing it all this boring shit before they hit record or go live, torturing their listeners with all the pre-production stuff that podcasters would do before doing an episode. But hey, I'm not a podcaster, what do I know? And although The Undertone is called a podcast in this movie, they do have live listeners calling on air. So it's also talkback radio show, I guess? There's a lot of long lingering shots that are slightly off-centre, giving you, the audience, the anticipation that something is going to either jump out or creeping in the background in the darkness unbeknownst to Evie. Which we do slightly get once or twice throughout the film, just, that creepy stuff just out of focus in the background. And there is one or two jump scares involving peaking sound in Evie's headphones, a term that is known as clipping, I believe. It's all very slow and ominous and dimly lit, giving the film the look and feel of another movie called Presence. There is an undeniable feeling, an unnerving energy, dread, impending doom, and it's all very tense and unsettling. And a lot of this is due to Evie sitting in the darkness investigating the history of children's nursery rhymes and the dark, sinister origins of them. But after a while, this all gets very repetitive. It's all low-budget indie, ambiguous, and very A24. Not a terrible film, as aforementioned, it is incredibly unsettling and tense. But it does feel like all of this was a very interesting and unique short film idea that was stretched out to feature length. Or a better story and execution could have made that 1 hour and 30 minute runtime feel more fulfilled and intriguing. It all does have a very good vibe and atmosphere to it. It's generally unsettling, but kinda goes nowhere. Or at least when it did get to ramp up at the climax, I was kinda tapped out by that point. It's a great concept for a horror/thriller, but may have needed a few more drafts from a different writer. Because in saying that, the dialogue was pretty clunky. And a lot of it is just over-explaining things on screen. And it all feels like it's straight from a script written by a film student. I know this all sounds very mean, and I really don't want it to come across that way. But I've got to be honest with how I felt and what I thought while watching it. But the biggest gripe for me in this film is this is not how a podcast works. Almost like it was written by someone who has never listened to a paranormal podcast in their life. The best paranormal/crime podcast, I believe, in the genre is Last Podcast on the Left. If you haven't already, listen to those guys and you can see the pinnacle of what a podcast can be. There is so much prep, so much research, so much comedy, it's all really captivating. Now, I think the concept for this film can really work. Same idea, but perhaps instead of podcasters, you get someone who works for the police. Specifically, a digital content specialist who either is sent or stumbles across a couple of horrific sound bites and must decipher whether it's a hoax or a real crime. And of course, the investigation goes dark. It begins to affect their mental health, and they become obsessed and deep dive into this world of the occult and discovering something potentially ritualistic and demonic. I would watch the shit out of that movie. And it seems there's something very similar of this variety that has just been released that I've only just heard about. But instead of working for the authorities, they work for a content website. Haven't watched it yet, but I am very much looking forward to it. Who knows, my aforementioned idea for a film I might come back to in the future and make it with some interested people. Or who knows, no doubt it's already in the works of being made. And if you are one of these people who are making this film, hit me up, I am very interested in being a part of it. But anyway guys, that's my cheeky little review of Undertone. Right down below if you're seated, what are your thoughts on it? But more importantly, what is your favourite horror/thriller involving discovered sound bites or filmed footage? And of course, if you've made it this far into the episode, please give me a thumbs up because your love and support keeps me going, because I just love movies and I assume you do as well. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe icon because I give out an episode weekly. And I'll see you back here next week for the next review, but until then, stay spooky, kids.